When I look at my network tab and I sort it actually by type, I see that I have a number of JavaScript requests, multiple GET requests for multiple JavaScript files. And what I want to do to help minimize the GET request is obviously consolidate all of those JavaScript files into one folder. Now, this is very common, and actually, when we look at our the contents of our file, in our JS folder, we have a file called plugins.js, which is meant just for that. Actually, right out of the like when you download boot HTML5 boilerplate, it encourages you to add everything all at once, and this is the file that's actually wanting you to do that. And if you look, it says place any jQuery helper plugins in here. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go one by one and copy and paste the contents of the JavaScript files that we have in here into this plugins folder. Now, I like to be careful with this because not all plugins are created the same, and if people aren't using the best practices for wrapping their plugins to play nice with other libraries, it could stop working. And if we sort of get ahead of ourselves and just add everything all at once before we test stuff, it could easily get confusing as to what's causing the error. So here's what I'm getting at. We have plugins open. Let me fire up index.html because I want to insert all of my JavaScript in the same order I'm including it in the document. Now, first order of business is when we look at this modernizer is at the very top of the document, the head, and all of our other JS rather, is at the bottom of the code of the HTML page. So with the exception of modernizer, and actually also with the exception of our main.js, we are going to add everything, all our plugins, into the plugin folder. The reason I say main.js is an exception, you see that in page speed, one of the other elements that it's telling us to do is to inline small JavaScript. Since the main.js folder that we have, this is our own JavaScript. Sort of common best practices nowadays is to put this stuff into to put this stuff in the body of the document and have all our plugins in the body of the HTML, inline in the HTML. You know what? Enough talk. Let's actually get right to it and just see how that works. So we will start with slide bars, right? So slide bars, here I'm going to close out main. Slide bars is right here. And I'm going to copy all of slide bars. Then I'm going to bring that into plugins.js. Okay. I'm going to save that. Great. Now I'll go into slide bar and I'm going to comment it out, because what I'm saying is that as I'm adding, I want to test at each step. So here is my file. I'll refresh it. Slide bar still works. Beautiful. Okay, what's the next guy? The BX slider. Here, I'm going to just comment that out ahead of time, because then we'll just, once I copy the code, it's definitely broken now, but if I add it to my plugins, we keep our fingers crossed that it works. Come back here, give it a refresh. Does the slider work? It works. Nice. Okay. Magnificent pop-up. Same thing there. Magnificent pop-up. Okay. Add that here. Ooh, this is a little scary. This is the kind of stuff that worries me. I'm not sure why the author has this as his last line as opposed to the return jQuery, which is sort of the best practices for doing it. I don't know if it's a check or something. Um, Let me see. I'm trying to find it for you guys. Return jQuery. Anyway, I don't want to spend too much time looking at that, but I guess it's that kind of stuff that worries me when I see ending code like this as opposed to how it should be ending, which is generally with return jQuery. Whatever. Fingers crossed that it works. So I'll pop that in there, and now that was magnificent pop-up. That's loaded. Okay, give it a refresh. Looks like it works. I always say I don't know for sure that it works unless I upload it, because we know that this thing doesn't work cross domain, same origin policy, that whole thing. So fingers crossed that it works. That'll be, when we upload it, we'll know for sure. Final guy should be good old lazy load. So now let's get the lazy load script. Here we go. We'll add it to our plugins. Lazy load, sort of difficult to tell whether or not it works, right? So there you go. Actually, what do we say? We could just look at the inspector and see what loads in the network, and at least this way we see. Yeah, I don't think it loaded all of them. Just because there's only a couple of them, and then when we click here, yeah, okay, so yeah, we see that it's working just because I see the requests increasing and all that. And that should see. Oh, by the way, this is what I was referring to earlier, just jQuery. That should do it. Was there anything else? No, these are all working. Now what we're going to do is bring in our main into. I'm going to delete these. We'll bring the code from main. We'll inline it. So that's a common thing people want you to do. And here's what we're going to do for that. Where I'm getting the inlining from is inline small JavaScript, and that's again, a best practice approach. This is part of, actually, this is where we get the whole idea of too many HTTP GET requests and how it just adds unnecessary overhead to our network. 600 milliseconds, mandatory 3G network overhead. There you go. Anyway, let us bring the code in from main, inline it. Here we go. We'll just bring that in here, and what we could do is just do this. We could even delete this main part over here, because this is how we'd add the code. Let me clean this up a little bit. There we go. Okay. Whew, I hope we didn't mess anything up. We just did a bunch of changes, and here's my local, no, that's not my local version. Here, let me get my local version up. Okay. Great. Wonderful. So that worked out very nice. We're minimizing the get requests. The final order of business, obviously, here is let's minify this bad boy, right? So what we could do now is in our JS, we have the plugins.js. That'll be our working file. We actually don't need any of these guys anymore, but we don't have to delete them. Doesn't mean anything. I'll make a copy of my plugins. I will name it .min. Right now, always curious to see that we have our plugin folder is 120 KB. Let's see once we minify it. So let me do a Google search JS minify. We'll find an online minifier JS compress. We want to make sure that when we minify it, it also removes any comments too, because those seem to take up more space than we want them to. Let's go here, minify the code. Here's the button, compress. Seems, let's just take a quick peek. I don't see any. It's hard to tell, I know, but I don't see any code. And plus, I think we had something at the very beginning. Looks good to me. So let's copy that, bring it in here, make sure we're doing it to our min folder. It's all there. I don't see anything. I wonder if we could find, just doing a find over here. Yeah, doing a find the beginning of the comment. I don't see anything, so let's see how much space that saved us. Wow, that's a lot. That's even more than half. Great. Almost there, right? We need to make sure that our index.html is now asking not for plugins, but plugin.min. Oops, min, right? And now let's look at it. Does it still work? Cool. Still seems to work. Very nice. So we eliminated all those multiple requests, get requests, and we compressed all of our JavaScript code, short of obviously the stuff that we inlined as per the page speed recommendation. Very nice.